thank you so much for tuning in. I am Leanne Rizzo Liddell, Associate Broker and Realtor with Ocasio Realty. And today I am here with the wonderful Stephanie Lucas, who is the owner and executive director at Give Garden. And Give Garden is a subscription box that serves as a way to introduce fruits and vegetables to kids ages 3 to 13. That's very hands-on and fun for kids and their respective grown-ups. So thanks so much for joining me, Stephanie. Let's just dive right in and get to know a little bit more about you and your business. So tell me a little bit about Give Garden and how you got started.
Beautiful. I appreciate that, Leanne. So I am a registered dietitian and I'm a mom of 2 kiddos. So I have a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old at home. And I really felt like there was a gap between there being some kind of fun, hands-on ways for parents to help introduce fruits and vegetables to their kids. And so being a mom, and after kind of experiencing having young children, I think that's what prompted me to start the company. So in a nutshell, Give Garden is really a recipe delivery service. I have a kind of box sample here.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
This is what shows up. It gets hand delivered to the child's doorstep. And so it's colorful and it's fun. The box is designed so that kids could actually color it or save stuff in it later if they wanted to.
Yeah, I was going to say that looks like it would be fun to color and, fill in.
Store stuff in. I think my son is obsessed with Pokemon cards and he's got a few Give Garden boxes full of Pokemon cards in his room. So he just uses it to collect things. On the back side of the box, there's actually some culinary tips, like some food safety tips. So it's just meant to be kind of conversational and fun and educational when you're in the kitchen. And so when the box arrives, all the food that the child needs to do the recipe is inside the box. If it's a temperature sensitive item, it will come inside a thermal pouch with an ice pack. So it can sit on the doorstep for hours if it needs to. So you don't need to be home when the package arrives. We obviously recommend that you bring it in the day that it gets delivered. But if they're not temperature sensitive items, you'll just find them inside the box. It's wrapped in tissue paper. So it's meant to look like a gift. And
present.
Like they've got this fun, colorful present that showed up. And so inside with the food, there's also a recipe card. And the recipe card, the top part of the recipe card gives a little bit of nutrition education. So we talk a little bit, let's say tomatoes are in the box. What the heck do tomatoes do in our bodies? Why would we want to eat them? Or how do they grow? Or, when was this food really first introduced to the widespread public? Just something that might be interesting and fun for the kids to get to know. It'll list all of the other supplies that aren't in the box that you would need. So do you need a whisk? Do you need a wooden spoon? Do you need a pot, a microwave? What are those other tools that we're going to use? So you can get yourself all set up before you get started. Being a mom myself, I know that time is sometimes of an essence, either because as busy parents, we don't have a lot of time, and the attention span of the child might have a kind of sensitive window of when we want to do that. But we try to set it up so that it's super turnkey for parents or older siblings or grandparents, whoever's going to do this activity with the child, so they can get all the tools that they need. They have all the food pre-portioned inside the box. And now we're going to follow the recipe directions on the back side of the card that's going to walk us through the activity. And so the directions have 3 types of directions. There's a child step, what's called a family step, and an adult step. And so it's really designed so that the adult overseeing the project can allow the child to do as much of the activity on their own as they can. That's going to build confidence. That's going to take some ownership of what they produce in the end. But it also allows the adult to know when something sharp, hot, or heavy is coming up in the recipe, and you can help insert yourself in that situation. If you have a 4-year-old doing the recipe versus maybe a 10-year-old, obviously those are going to be different levels of comfort in the kitchen. So that's where that family step comes in. So a child step is like a G-rated movie, everybody can do it. A family step is a medium level step, and the family can decide if their child is mature enough or capable enough to do that step on their own. And then the steps that are labeled as adult are really sharp, hot, or heavy, and you can assist. So It's meant to be about 30 minutes, give or take. It's flavorful. You're using all of your senses. It's very colorful, and in the end, then you get to share this beautiful creation that you've made with the rest of the household or with neighbors and friends. So it's meant to be very social, and because there's always at least one fruit or vegetable in every recipe that we're making, naturally the kids are going to be exposed to different fruits and vegetables through that process. And since
Hmm.
they were part of the culinary, gift of the creation part of making it, they're more willing to try it in the end. And we
Sure.
currently have 36 recipes in our rotation. So
Nice.
you could choose to stay with Give Garden once a month for 36 months and get a different recipe every month. There's
That's
also
awesome.
long-term commitment. So if somebody wanted to sign up for a month or two and weren't sure that they wanted to make a long-term commitment, there's never one. So you get it once a month, you pay once a month, and then another box shows up 3 to 5 weeks later, depending on the holiday schedule. We try not to
Sure.
deliver on weeks that we think families might be extra busy or be out of town or things like that.
Sure,
So
sure. Okay. What are some examples of the recipes that you've done in the past or that you currently have in the rotation that people either customers really like or you've really liked and been excited about?
that's a great question. So I think part of our mission is not only the fruit and vegetable introduction, but also the culinary confidence of kind of
Hmm.
understanding the different skill sets that you need to be successful in the kitchen. And so that's some of what prompts our recipes. We're looking for a variety of different foods and maybe flavor profiles, and then also different skills. So we want the
Okay.
kids to learn how to bake. We want them to learn how to whisk. We want them to learn how to chop. There's one that we learn how to chiffonade basil for a bruschetta recipe, for example. So all of those play into how we play that out. Some of
Okay.
our favorite recipes, we have a fruit salsa recipe
Ooh.
where they end up making cinnamon tortilla crisps so that they can dip
Ooh.
in their fruit salsa. So that one's
Yum.
a big hit. We have a pumpkin mousse recipe where it's kind of has some of the same profiles as pumpkin pie, but it's made into a mousse. So it's light and
Yum.
fluffy, and we provide graham crackers inside so they become sort of spoons that the kids can
Nice.
scoop up their pumpkin mousse in and try it. So that one's a huge one. We have sushi. So the kids actually
Interesting.
learn how
Okay.
to roll sushi and then slice that and take little bites. And we're of course not sending raw fish. We're making
Right.
it
It's the
carrots.
concept of it.
Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. So carrots, avocado, and edamame, which is a high
Yum.
protein bean that comes in that. It's very, of all foods that I can think of that could go in sushi. Those are pretty mild flavors in the scheme
Hmm.
of things, but still get some of that sensation of the sushi. We have a turkey chili recipe, which is kind of fun. So we're able to talk a little bit about what beef brings to a recipe versus what a turkey meat would bring to a recipe. We bake our own bread one month and then slice
Ooh.
it and
Okay.
make avocado toast out of it. And so
Yum.
it's really kind of a flavorful recipe, but also the smelling of baked bread being throughout the house. We
Yeah.
have a cranberry orange scone recipe, which is also a really big hit. So we use whole, full, dried cranberries, and they actually make buttermilk out of orange. So they use the orange juice to actually make the
Oh.
buttermilk, and we talk a little bit about the chemistry behind what they're doing and how that impacts their baked goods.
Very cool. That's really neat. I definitely think I'll be signing up. My daughter, she's going to be 3 next month, but she really is very interested in like watching us cook, and she really likes trying new foods, and she really likes different fruits and vegetables. She likes raw tomatoes. My husband and I hate raw tomatoes, so it's interesting to kind of see that flavor profile
Right.
develop.
Well,
um
I'm so
yeah.
impressed to hear that you're still introducing that to her because I think that's often a mistake we make as adults is if we don't like a food, we're not as willing or thinking about introducing those foods to our kids. And they actually say that it takes 20 times of a child being introduced to a food before they decide if they like it or not. And so if they've turned
Oh,
down,
interesting.
say, broccoli 5 times, parents sometimes are tempted to go, okay, broccoli's off the list. But have you tried it raw? Have you tried it steamed? Have you tried it baked? Have
Mhm.
tried it intermixed in a dish? Have you tried it as a side item? And so I think that some of the goal, especially with some younger children, is just continuing to introduce it in a fun way where they can decide for themselves, is this something that I like? And maybe in the end they'll decide it's not for them, but we've made a
Mhm.
valiant effort as parents to try and get them
Absolutely.
to at least try it and then go from there.
Absolutely. Well, very cool. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for sharing all that with me. It's exciting that it's, you know, different types of recipes and, just yeah, exposing them to different kinds of food. Um, given all that, and obviously, COVID has changed things. But what are some of your goals for the next year?
Beautiful. Well, one of the things that was important to us when we started Give Garden, we've already talked a little bit. We had the goal of there being a fruit and vegetable introduction component and kind of
Hmm.
the hands-on social emotional piece that comes with doing an activity together. It's really a
Absolutely.
tech-free activity. And
Mhm.
surprisingly, when COVID hit, we were a little nervous. You never know how a small business is going to survive that. And we've
Sure.
actually had a huge uptick in sales since COVID launched because
Okay.
we think parents wanted there to be a healthy activity that you could do at home, and it got delivered to their doorstep and they didn't need to leave to get a bunch of supplies. And so
Hmm.
it really kind of made that a fun piece. But so back to the question, we had the goal of fruit and vegetable introduction, we had the goal of the social emotional piece, and the so that really impacts the household. But what we wanted
Hmm.
to make sure is that we were also impacting the community as a whole. I think raising kids, we're not raising kids in a bubble. They're going to interact with others in the neighborhood and at school and, through sporting events and things of that nature. And so how can we make the whole community a little healthier or support those other organizations? We felt that was an important part of helping the kids in the long run. So when you sign up for a Give Garden box, you get to link your account to a charity. And we currently have 45 charities in our database,
That's
and
awesome.
we give up to 15% of that membership price back to that charity to be able to
Very
support
cool.
them. And so we do fundraising events with them. We'll bring out our blender bike, which is a bike that kids can ride on, and they use their leg power to guide the blender that's on the front of the bike, and they can
Oh,
make
that's super cool.
very fun. So
That's
if
awesome.
a fundraising organization is having an event and they want us to show up and kind of have a fun activity for kids to do, we can do that to support their efforts and their own fundraising. And then on top of that, if people sign up for Give Garden at the event, then there's even more future funds coming to
Hmm.
that organization down the long run. So those are really our goals now that COVID has hit. And for a lot of these organizations, we have food banks in our database, for example. They've been somewhat depleted because we've had sort of this very financially destructive situation play out. And so our goal is really to continue to do some fundraising drives where we can help really build up some of those funds that our charities have, so they can be out there making the difference that they make in our community.
That's awesome. So when you sign up for a box, then you're linked. You can choose on the website which charity you want to donate to. Okay,
And that
very
was
cool.
also an important part. We wanted the parents to be able to pick what resonated with them.
Sure.
For example, one of our charities is a Wounded Warrior program. We
Hmm.
have one that helps support pediatric cancer patients. We have one that's for transplants, if somebody's
Hmm.
gone through a transplant. We have one that's called Willow Wish, which is one near and dear to my heart, that help raise funds for families that want to do a home birth but can't afford to do a home birth on
Hmm.
their own, and so they help support that. So we've got a dog rescue group. We've kind of got the whole gamut, and so typically what we
Super
find
cool.
is every family has one that they go, that's the one. That's what our family really cares about. And then they get a little sense of, they know they're giving back. So not only are they buying a gift for themselves and for their family, but they get that added bonus of knowing they're making a difference to an organization that resonates with them.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, I'll definitely make sure, obviously, that all of your contact information and links to everything will be below our interview, so people can definitely go check it out. On more of a personal note, what are some of your favorite things to do just, in the neighborhood, in the area?
Right. Well, it's funny. I was first really introduced to this neighborhood years ago. So when I finished graduate school, I was getting ready to be a young dietitian, and I got hired at Phoenix Children's Hospital. And so that was
Okay.
the first time that I ended up renting an apartment, kind of in this general neighborhood, and just fell in love with this part of town. So that was my first kind of grown up all by myself apartment. And I
Sure.
starting my career. And so I'm sure all of that plays into kind of feeling this connection and being happy with where you're at in life and being excited
Sure.
about where you're headed. So a few years later, I bought my first condo. I bought a condo at the Landmark Towers, which is on the corner of
Yep.
Central and Camelback, not too far
Yep.
away. A
Yep.
historic building, and my condo was facing north on that building.
Oh,
So
nice. Okay.
basically, I was on the 10th floor, and I saw everything north of Camelback, up to North Mountain, and then you could
Hmm.
see all the way over to kind of Camelback Mountain. And so I would just look at these neighborhoods from my condo and just wonder what the families were doing in their homes, and see people riding bikes up and down the bridle path on Central, and just fell in love with it. So when my husband and I met, he's a Phoenix firefighter, and
Okay.
he station is right next to the VA hospital. Um,
Okay.
so we said, well, we're going to buy a house. Let's buy a house in this neighborhood. So that
Nice.
was there was a long kind of history of being connected and really feeling like this neighborhood was the place for us. So
That's
that
awesome.
started. And the other driver, I think, was really the restaurants. Obviously, being a
Yeah.
dietitian, I'm a foodie at heart, and so
Sure.
so we love the idea that there are a lot of locally owned, kind of
Hmm.
smaller family owned restaurants in this particular part of town. And so you can regularly, non-COVID times, see us riding our bikes with, the little kids, like little duckies following their ducky parents on their bikes
Nice.
down, to different restaurants. But we're pretty much biking distance from Joyride, Windsor, Postino, kind of that area.
Very
So
nice.
those are some of our favorites.
Yes, all those are great. Love them. Um, yes, they're so good. I also love just being so close to all the restaurants, and um, yeah, it's so nice. Um, obviously you do a lot with your family. When you're not working, what are some other things that you like to do, either with them or without?
Really good question. So, my kids go to the Madison school district, and we were just loving the fact that they had chess club as one of the
Oh, cool.
options available. And so, a few years ago, we signed up our son to be part of chess club. And he even played a game today, but he is just loves, loves, loves to play chess. So
Very cool.
that's typically an activity he will beg either myself or my husband to get into a few rounds of chess with him. And
Okay,
then
nice.
story, when my husband and I first met, the first time that I ended up having him over for dinner, and it was at the Landmark. So we were up in this,
Okay.
rise apartment, and I had this bookshelf of a bunch of board games. And one of the board games I had on my bookshelf was called Settlers of Catan. And it's
Hmm.
a German strategy game. And he
Yes.
had never met anybody who knew how to play that game besides a small circle of friends that he had, much less a girl that not only knew how to play the game but loved to play the game. Uh,
Very
so,
cool.
so that's kind of near and dear to our hearts. We really enjoy the family board games. Kind of doing, if we're not out being active, physically biking, walking, playing outside, we're typically inside. Making somebody sweat it out as we have this heated family board game going on.
Nice. I love it. I love it. Yeah, my husband and I really like board games too. So we're excited to start kind of introducing that to my daughter as she gets older. So we'll
Exactly.
see. We'll see what direction she goes, whether she likes it or not. So we're
Right.
hoping she does, but you
Hopefully.
never know.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Very cool. Well, really just kind of my last question is, Stephanie, is there anything going on or coming up that you want folks to know about?
Well, good question. So, I think our biggest thing that we have coming up is we've got a few events that are supporting charitable functions, and so
Okay.
following us on Facebook. We have a Facebook page and an Instagram page that we're really active on. And so
Awesome.
a lot of times that's where we'll post information about fundraising events that we have
Okay.
coming up. And so having your followers consider, liking us and following us on those social media sites. And then if there is a charity that resonates with them and we're doing an activity that supports them, they're in the know that it's going on.
Okay. Awesome. Well, once again, Stephanie, thank you so much for talking with me. And thank you everybody else for watching. Once again, I'm Leanne Russo Liddell, Associate Broker and Realtor at Ocasio Realty, here with Stephanie Lucas, the owner and Executive Director at Give Garden. And again, I'll post all of her information at the bottom, so be sure to give her a like and a follow. And thanks again for watching. So I appreciate it, Stephanie.
All right. Thank you. Bye, guys.